Hello and welcome back to another episode. In this edition, we're going to be talking about Stripe Treasury. This is a tool that allows you to build embedded finance and add embedded finance to your applications. We've got Juan and Evan here from the team, and we're super excited to talk about all the different building blocks and give you really a high-level overview of what Stripe Treasury can do and how you might use Stripe Treasury in your application. So Evan and Juan, Evan, maybe you could give just a quick introduction of yourself and then tell us, why we built Stripe Treasury and what folks can do with it.
Absolutely. Thanks, CJ. Hi, everyone. I'm Evan Jacobs. I am a product manager at Stripe and the product lead for Stripe Treasury. The idea for Treasury came from this realization that you had a lot of software platforms working with Stripe to enable businesses to run their business online. But the bank account portion of that, which is so central to a business, was this kind of disconnected, separate thing. And so you had businesses, taking payments online with Stripe Treasury, running their business through, platforms like Shopify or House Call Pro, and also issuing cards to businesses so that they could spend money. But the middle part of where do you keep the money? How do you deposit checks? How do you send wires? All those basic things was off somewhere else on the side. At a traditional bank, a big bank that didn't really understand the vertical markets that a lot of our platforms are in. And so we really saw this opportunity to build an embedded finance solution where software platforms can offer us a money storage account, offer all these traditional banking features like ACH and wires right in their software platform, integrated with Stripe payments and all these other great products. So excited to talk about it today.
Awesome. And Juan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what are we gonna take a look at today?
Well, thank you, CJ, first for having us here. Super excited. I'm a specialist solutions architect here at Stripe. So essentially, I talk with our users, our developers, chat about the experiences they want to build and see how we can match it with the APIs that we have. It's a very fun experience, if I can confess. I'm focused essentially in our banking as service products, treasury, issuing, and capital. And Treasury, it's very important. It has recently put in general availability, and we have a ton of questions. So we have a ton to share today.
Awesome. So we have, you said three things: treasury, issuing, and capital. And so and we have a ton of content on the Stripe Developer YouTube channel about accepting payments. And we will show you how to use checkout or how to use the payment element or how to use all these different things to accept payments. But we don't have too much content out there about issuing, treasury, or capital. Today we're talking about treasury, but maybe we could just touch briefly on what those other two things are and why developers might care about issuing and capital. So what is issuing and what is capital and how does that tie in?
Absolutely. And actually, before diving into that, as you surfaced, traditionally our users think of Stripe as a way to receive payments. And the story ends when you send your payment to your external bank account. Mm-hmm. When you're having this opportunity to build an embedded finance experience, now you have the ability to do something with those funds in your platform directly. As Evan said, with Treasury, you can store those funds, have them available, send funds somewhere else, like, for example, pay a vendor. Mm-hmm. With the Stripe issuing, you can issue cards, both virtual and physical, and spend those funds that you have there. And capital is a service that is catered towards receiving loans within your platform. So at a high level, these are the banking as service solutions that we have, and we use them as building blocks for these more comprehensive embedded finance experiences.
Okay, awesome. So these are definitely like a lot of other tools that I could imagine bolting on to an application that you've already built that is already serving lots of businesses maybe, and you have perhaps a marketplace or a platform, and you want to offer all of your merchants or sellers or vendors or drivers or something, some tools that would allow them to store money, allow them to maybe spend that money with an issued card, and then also potentially like create a loan that you can give them money that they can use to, as a lever to really, make their business more successful. So maybe like, could we talk about, some of the core building blocks? Juan, I know you've got like some demos to show too. If you want to share your screen, we can take a look at some of the core building blocks for a treasury integration.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then, yeah.
Let's talk about what a sample experience would be.
Okay.
A generic, non-story tied experience for embedded finance. Let me share my screen and bear with me. I'm not very tech savvy. Here you go.
Bluffing. He's bluffing. All right.
All right, let's give it a couple seconds. So this is my screen, and this is the login screen. In this case, what we're going to show is how you can create an embedded finance experience for your platform. This is not tied to any story, so we can tell story as we go. For example, let's say I have a platform that I help, I don't know, guitar repair people to charge their customers. So me, I'm a luthier that I'm signing up here, and the platform will give me the ability to both receive payments, but also once I get those funds, I will have them paid out to a treasury financial account. From that treasury financial account, I will be able to issue cards to spend. I will be able to pay vendors. I will be able to see my transactions. So we will walk through all the different components that make this experience. As a prerequisite, this platform is built on Custom Connect that you may be familiar with. So as any new user for Custom Connect, when I create an account, I need to onboard. Stripe provides a product called Hosted Onboarding that allows you to collect the information required for your business to be able to receive payments, and then collect information that you need to create the financial account that you will build. So this being said, Treasury financial account gets created on top of a Custom Connect account.
Okay, so Custom Connect. So when we say Custom Connect, we're talking about sort of a flavor or a version of Connect, right? So right now, Connect has 3 different account types. We have the standard account type, which is you can use the full Stripe dashboard. You have access to everything. We have an Express account type. That is, you can use the Express dashboard, which is a little bit simplified version.
Mhm.
And then we have Custom Connect, which is you can fully build out your own custom integration, and you use the Stripe APIs to build a full on suite of tools that all of your connected accounts use to manage their disputes and payments and refunds and all of that. And so it sounds like in order to even start with Treasury, we first need to use a Custom Connect integration. And so that onboarding you're talking about, what are sort of some of the benefits of using the hosted onboarding versus building our own custom onboarding flow?
That's a great question. So essentially, you have 2 ways to provide information to Stripe required to enable your account. One is to deliver the data points directly to the API. That means that you will need to keep track of the account object that will have a requirements hash that will say, hey, you're missing like the date of birth or something else. The hosted onboarding experience will collect those information points automatically. If tomorrow you sign up for a different product that requires additional verification, hosted onboarding will be able to recollect or collect these new data points and build it. So the benefit is that you don't have to build your own experience to collect this data. This is abstracted for you.
Great. Yeah. And I imagine that's like really challenging to build your own onboarding flow to create a new account that can handle money. And maybe it's, you have to fulfill all the regulatory requirements in lots of different countries potentially. And yeah, obviously like localizing in lots of different languages and supporting uploads for your driver's license or your passport or whatever, all of those different know your customer or KYC and AML or anti-money laundering things that Stripe is really good at because they're doing this every day, right? To support any sort of standard account. So this hosted surface is a way that you can sort of just redirect someone to Stripe, have them enter in a whole bunch of information that will make them eligible to collect payments, but also store money and then issue cards and do all these other fancy things directly on the Stripe on a Stripe hosted page. So you don't have to like actually manage all of that onboarding. So are we going to go through that hosted onboarding here as part of this demo?
We're going to go through the full experience as, I
Nice.
changed careers because my real calling is about being a guitar fixer. So I'm signing up for this guitar repairing platform, trademark. So first step, this first page gives the ability for logging in, but also to sign up.
Okay.
To sign up, in this case, the business name is Juan Guitars because I'm very creative. And then the email, I will put juanguitars@email.com, which is very real, and we will set up a password. When I click on create account, what will happen is that I will create a custom connected account for Stripe. After that account is created, I will request capabilities for treasury and issuing. And those are the capabilities that I will get the requirements to fulfill for. Once this is working, I will get an account onboarding link that will redirect me to the hosted onboarding experience. For some reason, my internet is playing me a fast one. So bear with me 1 second. And let's see here. Okay, so for some reason, this didn't work out. Let me refresh my page and let's go again. Light demos, dangerous demos. Once guitars, I'll put in the email and then we'll click on create account. And now let's see if the account gets created. And okay, here we go. And I'm redirected. So what happens in the back after we created the account, Stripe now knows what kind of requirements I have to fulfill. The first step is to provide a phone number. As you may know, Stripe has a test mode that allows you to experiment with the APIs and everything. So in this case, I will use a test number and I will use my email. We will set up the test code for the phone number. This is for verification. Here you can choose what kind of business you can be. Depending on the kind of business, you will get different requirements to fulfill. In this case, we're going with individual because I'm a solopreneur. And after this, we will provide some information about our business. This is all to fulfill those requirements for KYC, know your customer, and anti-money laundering. So in this case, I'm Juan Luthier, because I am. Then I have my email, my date of birth. I was born in 1970, why not? And then I will put an address. Of course, if I was a real organization, I need to provide like the real date. In this case, we're going to use one of the old Stripe addresses, which is 185 Berry Street in San Francisco, California, 94107. Phone number, and then we're putting a social security number. Now, after this, this is information they need about my business. Then I will have to provide information about my industry and my website. In this case, I will say I'm software, and we put my website, which is juansguitars.com. And here I provide services for musicians because I repair guitars.
Cool.
So click continue. Now, the next step, I will be exposed to the terms of service that you can go through and accept. And after this, the last step will be to provide my personal details, which is like provide a proof of identity. In this case, you can take a picture with your phone or with your webcam, upload a file. Imagine if you were to build this yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say it's a heavy lift, but it's a sizable effort versus just having it with a redirect. Stripe takes care of that. Also, one other detail, as you see that I was able to define what is the background color and the icon.
Yep.
And
so one other thing, though, if you did want to go through and build this specific part where it's like upload your photo and do a verification document, you could use Stripe Identity, which is another product that's available that's all about identity verification. So that specific piece you totally could build. But yeah, this entire flow would be tricky to build and do it right and get it all localized and error-free, et cetera. So
exactly. So we provided the information. We'll wait a couple seconds. And after the verification is ready, I should be able to click submit. And after I click submit, I will be sent back to my application or my embedded finance experience. So as you can see, this is as I said, this is a generic example. So this would be part of a larger application.
Okay.
Thing. So think about this as embeddable components that you can add to your experience, or an idea of what it would look like. This is a dashboard. So in this dashboard, I have my financial account balance. Then
So
Mhm.
one sec before we go. So like that whole first section was connect onboarding, right? Like we didn't actually do any treasury stuff yet, right? So now we're at the point where we are just ready. We have our connected account and we're ready to start doing treasury stuff. Okay.
Yes, yes
Great.
and no, actually, because one of the requirements was specific to Treasury. So we
Okay.
collected the information I needed to create my Treasury financial account.
Okay. Later I'd love to look at the code, and we could take a look and see kind of what are those capabilities that you need to pass when you're creating the connected account, so that you make sure that you're collecting all the right information in that connect onboarding. Okay, cool. All right, sorry. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Yes, and actually we can dive deep in that if you want to.
Okay.
So, you want to see how the account was created, or should we dive deep into this and then go back to the nitty-gritty of the code?
I would love to see so right now we're looking at the financial account balance, right? So we created a financial account somewhere as part of this process. Could we go look and see how that was created?
Absolutely. So
Awesome. So yeah, a financial account is one of these new building blocks that is part of Treasury, and this is one of the primitives, or one of those core resources that's going to enable us to store money. And so this is a new thing. Your financial account is different from your Stripe account, and it is not a bank account. It's a special thing that's different from that. Maybe Evan, could you speak to that difference there? Like what makes a financial account not a bank account?
Yeah, great question. So broadly, a financial account is sort of a generic money storage bucket. So historically, we've had a Stripe account, which has a balance that is very specifically tied to Stripe payments. It has to be used for payments purposes. This is more of a general purpose place. You can put money, store money for long periods of time, transfer back and forth. We work with bank partners. So underlying this, the money is sitting with a bank, but Stripe has built a layer on top of that bank service to make this easy to deploy, accessible via APIs. And so the financial accounts themselves are kind of a virtual layer on top of a master bank account. So they're still insured, they're still eligible for FDIC insurance and things like that, but much more flexible in some ways.
Cool, awesome, yeah. So this is where we're actually creating the financial account. It looks like right there, maybe on line 39. If we could, you want to walk through that one?
Absolutely. So when we created the custom connected account, when we requested the capabilities, you will see that I requested card payments and transfers. These are prerequisites to create the financial account. Then you see that I have a treasury capability requested and card issuing requested. The combination of these requirements are the ones that triggered those requirements for data to provide on the onboarding. Then after I created the account, I created a financial account using the financial accounts create. And here you can request different features for your financial account. Like, for example, card issuing, the financial addresses, what capabilities you will have for outbound transfers or outbound payments, and we can talk about that when we get into the money movement factors. But yeah, essentially, it's two API calls: one to create the connected account, one to create the financial account. You onboard, you're ready to go.
Got it. Okay, cool. Maybe we can go jump back to the demo.
Absolutely. So this is a dashboard. The way I'd like to cover this, there are two steps. One is how do I get funds in? And then the fun part, how do I get funds out? For this demo, we have something called a cheat mode, where we're going to simulate how to get funds in here. Because this is a generic experience, I don't have a story to tell. So in here, I can go to test mode, and I will have a bunch of options to experiment with this. The first one is to simulate a received credit. Essentially, with your financial account, you will have an account and a routing number, so you can send funds directly there with your other bank account. In this case, when I click Simulate Receipt Credit, I will add $500 to my financial account. I've been working super hard to get this in real life. I couldn't accomplish this, but someday we will get there. If I go back, you will see that now I have $1,000, and you will see the receipt credit transaction type here that has been posted, and you see that I have $1,000. Now,
Great.
the second option, because in the platform you may want to receive payments, would be to simulate receiving a payment. As you know, when you receive a payment, those funds will be transferred to your connected account balance, and then you can pay those funds out to your financial account for usage. So in this case,
so let's pause on that just for a second, because I think this might be really interesting, right? We have the connected account balance and we have the treasury account balance, and those are different things. So when you receive money into your connected accounts, you're going to be receiving that by default. If you're accepting payments through Stripe, those are going to end up in your connected account balance. And typically those are usually then paid out to your external bank account. When we say external bank account, we're talking about like your Wells Fargo account or your like Bank of America account, right? But now we have this new thing called a financial account where you can pay out from your connected account to your financial account. Okay. And then the question that I had was around this simulate received credit thing. Is it sounds like this is just part of testing out the integration. Okay, so this isn't something that you would actually implement in practice.
No, actually in practice, you will have, and I will show you, you may send funds directly to your financial account through its routing and account number. You can ACH or wire funds in.
Got it. So just like your Wells Fargo or Bank of America or whatever Chase account has a routing and account number, these financial accounts will also have those sort of ABA routing and account numbers. What does ABA stand for, by the way? Do we know? It's like
it's the American Banking Association.
Okay.
So this is a good example with, these aren't, the financial account isn't exactly a bank account. It's a virtual layer on top of a bank account.
Got it.
But it acts a lot like a bank account in that, any application you have that can send money, over ACH or wire, whether it's, Venmo or anything like that can send money to a bank account via routing and account number, can also send money to that treasury account.
Awesome. Okay. So we also did get a question here. So test says, are there any boilerplate example code repos that use Next.js with Stripe Treasury? So Juan, I don't know if you have any news for test, but
I would let you share those news, CJ.
Okay. So this application that Juan built here that we're walking through, we are going to open source it. You'll be able to see it, and we'll drop a link down in the description right after the video. So this is built with Next.js. It does use Stripe Treasury. So yeah, you'll test. You'll be able to get in there and play around. Cool. All right, let's get back to it.
Test. I love your link name. I use it a lot too. So let's get back. We're simulating receiving a payment. And one thing to keep in mind is that it takes some time for the funds to be available to pay out. In general, US credit card transactions take 2 business days to be available to pay out. In this case, I'm going to accelerate all that. It's just a demo. Just want to clarify that. So we're going to use another Stripe tool, which is create a payment link that essentially will give us a website where we can enter our payment information and get charged. So in this case, I will click create a payment link, and I will then go to the payment link where I have a predefined product that it's $10. So in this case, we're going to do $30. This could be guitar strings, the most expensive guitar strings ever, but hey, it's in there. We're going to make our friend Test pay for this, test@test.com. And as if you're familiar experimenting with a Stripe test mode, you know that there's a card that is the 42, 42, 42, 42, 42, 42 that allows you to test. However, that card in particular will go through the standard timing for the funds to become available. we need to pay out available funds. So we're going to use another test card that will send the funds directly to the available balance. That means that I will be able to pay them out immediately. This card is this one. We're going to add the code. This is John card holder, of course. And we're going to put a Texas zip code. And we will click pay. So what will happen is that through Connect, I will get the funds in my Stripe Connect balance. If I refresh this page, you will see that I have an available balance in my connected account of $28.83. One other detail to keep in mind, and this is really easy to think if you're thinking on the regular Connect flow, you will need to set up an external bank account to send the payouts. In this case, we're going to set up our Treasury financial account as the external bank account. So that's what will happen when I click here on this button. When you see the code, you will see that I have a check. If I don't have an external bank account in my connected account, I will expose this button. And when I click this button, I will get the financial account routing and account numbers and set them up for Connect. It plays fairly straightforward with the Stripe. And once we're done, we can click on Create a Payout that will create a manual payout to my financial account. Again, we are in test mode, so the times are squeezed. But that's pretty much it. You see that my available balance is 0. And if I go back to my dashboard, I will see that I have now the funds I received from the payment. And as you can see here, it's another received credit, but this came from a payout. That's at a high level how we can get funds into the financial account. There's a third way of getting funds in the financial account that it's called through an inbound transfer, where you can attach your external bank account to your financial account and then pull funds directly from there. It's not covered in this demo because it will be like 2 clicks, but that's something that our users find super, super useful in terms of adding funds to their financial account. So now that we have funds, let's have some fun spending funds, right? So that's where we go to cards. Now, when talking about cards, we're talking about Stripe issuing. The way that we have this built is you will create a card holder and then you will issue cards to that card holder. So let's create a card holder that will be the one that will be having the cards issued to. In this case, is John card holder, John at juansguitars.com. And we'll put 31 Main Street. This is in Dallas, Texas, because this is the only other zip code I know by heart. And we click Add Card Holder.
So
now,
this portion is actually using Stripe issuing, right? So this is okay. So what we're doing now is connecting our financial account to some issuing objects that will let us spend the money out of the financial account, right?
That is correct. In fact, when I click on Issue Card,
Mm-hmm.
I will create a virtual card that will use the financial account as the source of the funds. If you never heard about issuing before, with issuing, we have the concept of an issuing balance that you need to top up and keep. With Treasury, you have the advantage that you can use those funds directly without having to keep another balance. So it's very convenient, and it also be a part of the financial account transactions when we have that. So we will see that. So I will click on Issue Card, and now I have one card issued. Actually, let's issue a couple. Why not? We're issuing virtual cards here.
So for instance, right, one of the use cases here might be that you are a grocery delivery service and you want all of your people who are going out and running and picking up the groceries to have a credit card that they can use to buy the groceries with. And so you could imagine a scenario where you send an end customer payment link, they pay for their groceries, that money flows into your connected account balance, and then you pay out that balance into your financial account. And then you issued someone who's going to go pick up the groceries a virtual card. They go to the grocery store, they pay for the groceries with the card, and that money comes out of the financial account. So you have this full closed loop sort of system, right, in order to deliver groceries. Very cool.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You were about saying something
Yeah, I
else?
was gonna say, and you can automate those payouts, for example, so you don't have to manually move money from that connected account to the financial account. You can automate that because it's all in the Stripe ecosystem. You can accelerate that and have the money available within an hour of your customer paying in to get that the benefits of that closed loop system where the money just flows through automatically.
Are there other timing benefits to using a financial account instead of your external bank account?
Yeah, I think particularly, if you're using Stripe payments and Stripe issuing, keeping everything in the same place means you reduce the number of hops the money has to make. So you're able to get the money into the financial account within an hour at lower cost than if you are pushing it to an external account. So you can push money to external accounts quickly, using a debit card, but there's a lot of fees involved with that. It's cheaper and easier if you do it within Stripe. And then you don't have to later pull the money back from your external account into your issuing balance, which can create a time delay, can take a lot of capital for a business to leave money sitting in that issuing balance and manage that. So it's definitely faster if you're using all of these products together.
Very cool.
Yeah, and now on top of that you will have a central source of information about your funds in and funds out. Imagine what platforms can build with this data. I mean, the data real estate that we're generating for financial transactions is very exciting to see.
Very cool. I'm excited to see the virtual card though. Can we how does someone know what their number is, their actual card number, to go spend some money?
That's a great question. So for this, if we click in one of our cards, this is the card details, and you'll see that it took a little bit to show the card number. And don't get upset, I'm not breaching any PCI compliance rule.
Okay.
If you're familiar with Stripe Elements, for Stripe issuing, we have our own flavor of elements, which are called issuing elements. So essentially, this is hosted on Stripe and then displayed in my page. So the card number, the expiration date, and the CVC are not stored in my infrastructure. It's coming directly from Stripe.
Got it. So, okay. So with Stripe Elements, just quick overview, right? Someone enters their card details and their browser on the client side takes those card details and sends them directly to Stripe on the client. So they never pass through your own system. Then Stripe sends back a tokenization or a token or an ID of that payment method that's then used later to accept payment. And with issuing elements, now we're going to have some elements that are set up client side. From your server, you'll pass back some tokens or an ephemeral key and reference to the ID of the card. And then client side, it's going to go fetch the raw card details from Stripe so that it can be displayed securely inside of this iframe that is using the same technology that normal elements that you would use to accept payment is using. So under the hood, this is giving you some really great PCI compliance benefits so that you don't actually have to have that credit card number ever pass through your server at any point.
Yeah, and if you can think about the other applications that Stripe issuing elements have, it's a very common question from our users on how do I deliver virtual card numbers to their users without breaking PCI compliance rules. You can build experiences where you can provide the code, then that code can be matched in a database to a issued card ID and then displayed through Stripe issuing elements. So in that case, it's very convenient, it's secure, and you get access to the card number. Cool. So one thing that I want to show you is what it would look like if I use the card. So in this case, we are going to our test mode / cheat mode, and we're going to process a payment from that card. So in this case, I will copy the numbers. And this is the old one. This is john@cardholder.com. I'm going to paste the card number. This was on 7/25. And the CVC was 123, if I recall correctly.
Right. And so these virtual test cards are tied just directly to that financial account. And it is specific to the connected account or to the platform, right? Because you can only use this test mode virtual card within the test mode connected account, right?
Correct. Yeah. Correct. For test mode, and this is why I don't use it somewhere else, the virtual card is available only for the connected account. So I need to process a direct charge in there. Of course, in live mode, these cards can be used anywhere that a Visa commercial credit card is available. So I will click pay for $30. And there are two things that I want to see. The first one, you will see that here I have now a transaction on juansguitar.com for $30. But also, if I go back to my dashboard, you will see that my balance has been decreased by $30. And you will see that I have two transaction balance. The first one is the issuing authorization that was void because the transaction was captured. And then you will see a received debit, and you will see that the type is purchase. And it also has the cardholder's information. So imagine how you can build an experience that leverages this data. Like, for example, this funds in and funds out graph is essentially taking these same transactions and groups them depending if they are a positive or negative value. This is very exciting, the kind of experiences you can build.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we've seen money come into the account. We've seen money flow out of the account. Let's talk about the different resources that are under the Treasury API, because I think it might be good for us to just review what is an outbound payment versus an outbound transfer, what is an inbound payment versus an inbound transfer, and kind of like also maybe the received credit, received debit, and then these credit reversal. We don't have to go like too far into like reversals and stuff, but just kind of like help us think through when we say transfer, what does that mean versus a payment?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Actually, there's one more thing that I would like to show you that goes with this.
Cool. Awesome.
It's
Okay,
like
great.
simulating an outbound payment, which is essentially, we saw how to issue a card and spend the funds. Let's send a transfer from our financial account. So let's say this user, anytime they do a service, they love to give chocolates to their customers. So in this case, we're going to send an ACH transfer to Willy Wonka because he doesn't receive cards. So in this case, I will originate an outbound payment. An outbound payment, essentially, it's a transfer of funds to a third-party account. You mentioned that also there's the outbound transfer.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about our Treasury APIs, there are payments and transfers. Transfers are me-to-me. Inbound transfers are it's getting funds from my external bank account. Outbound transfers is send funds to my own external bank account. And then outbound payments is sending funds to a third party's bank account or an account that is not owned by me. You may ask me, how does Stripe know that it's mine or not? Well, when you, with Treasury, you have the ability to attach a bank account to your connected account. And that is what defines that the bank account is owned by you or not. So that being said, let's do an outbound payment, which is a transfer to a third party. This will go to Willy Wonka because we owe him. We add a routing number, an account number. You have the option to send wire transfers or ACH. In this case, I will do an ACH. The difference between them two is that ACH may take longer, the wire transfers, but there's also different costs associated with that. So that's something that you can choose to see what fits better. In this case, it's $25 for chocolates. We'll click next, and here we'll have the review screen. This is another test mode thing. We can define what is the end result for this transaction. In this case, I will choose posted and click on transfer. And after the transaction is successful, you will see that my page will refresh, and you will see that I have an outbound payment for $25 to Willy Wonka. So, yes, you had a question?
Well, so this was something that was not possible before, right? You couldn't, with your Stripe account, send money to somebody, right? You could receive money, you could receive payments, and then you could pay yourself out to your external account, but there was previously no way to send money to someone else, just like through ACH or through wire. So this is brand new. Also, this is really, really exciting because you could imagine maybe you're running a vacation rental platform and someone who has a vacation rental wants to pay their mortgage. And those mortgage payment systems, they're usually set up with ACH. So you could theoretically accept your rent payments from guests and then pay that out to your mortgage company using all using Treasury. This is yes, it's very, very exciting.
Yes, it is. It's very interesting the kind of experiences you can build, and that's why I was saying like we are prolonging the lifetime of the platform users, and this is something that platforms need to keep in mind when designing these experiences. What else can I bring for these users? What can I build with these experiences? This is the basic, like issuing cards, sending funds, but imagine what you can do with all the data that you're generating, right?
Yes, very cool. So we've got transfers. Those are me to me. We've got payments. If we're doing an outbound payment, we're just sending someone else money. And then we don't have the concept of an inbound payment as part of Treasury, right? That's because inbound payments are just connected like through our normal Stripe account. We're receiving inbound payments through checkout or payment links or invoices or subscriptions or any of these other ways that you can receive money. And then we can move money from the connected balance into our Treasury financial account using a payout. So that still stays the same, right? It's just instead of paying out to your bank account, now you're paying out to the financial account. And that unlocks all these new tools and building blocks. Very cool. Okay. Let's talk about maybe received credit and received debit. I know that we have some of these in the transaction log here. So we received this credit. That was like one of those test mode things. And so what are sort of the differences between a received credit versus a received debit? And when might one of those happen?
That's a great question. So essentially, in this case, under this demo, we received credits in two ways. Essentially, received credits is receiving funds, adding funds to my account. I received these funds. One of them is when I simulated pressing the button and receiving a transfer. If I was receiving funds from somebody in my financial account directly, that will create a received credit. The other event that generates a received credit is the payout from my connected account balance to my financial account. That payout receives a transaction of the type received credit. Then the other situation where I have a received debit is when I get funds taken from my financial account. So in this case, I received a debit, so the funds are being taken away. In this case, if you see the issuing transaction generated the received debit. I don't know if Evan, you want to provide more color about received debits and received credits?
Yeah, this is another case where these work very much like traditional bank accounts. Again, it's not a bank account, but operates similarly, and just so it can fit into a lot of the flows that businesses already have, where you're moving a lot of money through ACH or wire. You can just replace that and gives the visibility to the platform to help them navigate that.
Very cool. We've also got a couple of questions here. PayUp asks, someone could send you money from an external bank via ACH, right? And I think this ties in nicely with what we were just talking about. So that would appear as a received credit, right? So you could give them your ABA account and routing number for your financial account, and then they could just send you money via ACH, and that would appear as one of those received credits. And PayUp also asks, what about direct deposit for account holders? Evan, did you want to go into this specific question and maybe some nuances around direct deposit?
Well, yeah. So I would say these accounts are for businesses only at this point. We do plan to expand in the future to consumer accounts, but right now these are business accounts, and so you wouldn't necessarily get direct deposit in like the payroll sense for an employee because those are going to consumer accounts. But recurring deposits, over ACH or wire for other use cases are definitely something that are supported.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So we are just about 45 minutes into the hour. I'm curious if maybe we could jump into some of the code and take a look at maybe some of these building blocks, what the API calls look like. And I know also that one thing that's interesting about Stripe Treasury and something that we've been doing recently that's sort of new is exposing these test mode helpers. So the test helpers, the very first one we released was for test clocks. So test clocks allow you to attach a test clock to a customer, and then you can have subscriptions for them and move through time to simulate changing through time. And now Treasury also added tons of new test helper endpoints for simulating and transitioning accounts and transitioning payments through different states. So would love to kind of just talk about maybe some of the API calls that are being made, and then also look at some of the test helpers that are available inside of Treasury. So yeah, Juan, if you want to, I would love to see kind of like how you built this, and maybe we could look at some of the guts of this project.
Yes, and we can dive deep into all the modules. I also have this deck that shows essentially how we built each one of the modules and which APIs did we use.
Okay.
For the account creation that we went through, for the financial account creation, and here the onboarding URL. As you see, we're using the Node.js SDK, requesting this. Then for the balance widget, we are leveraging the financial accounts list where we get the data. Inside of the data, you will find that there's a balance and that's exposed here. So we're pretty much leveraging the content of our objects. This is an idea of what this widget may look like. The world is your canvas. You can do different approaches to this. For the funds in and funds out chart, we are leveraging the FA financial account transactions list, where I get a transaction ID, the type of flow, the amount, and this is represented here. As you can see, I have like the date that's coming from the epoch. Then I have the amount that comes from this list. And based on if these are positive or negative numbers, I create the values that will be displayed by chart.js chart. So this is very interesting because there are many types of charts that you can create. This is only one example, but you can think about showing balance over time. You can see the top amounts that you have during the determined period. I mean, reporting is very interesting. Then for the financial accounts transactions report, I still use the same transactions list. Here you see that I get the date built from this created property. Then I have the amount, the transaction, the flow type, the transaction status, and then the description. I could have gone like really deep and just break it down, the description, but for a demo, it's fine. Then we have for the outbound payments experience, very similar situation. I use the outbound payments API to create. I just send the parameters and send it there. So at a high level, these are different widgets that we created. We have also some details for the issuing cards, creating the card holders. Like for example, this is how I issue a card. As you can see, it's very simple. I just need to pass the card holder I created, and then I send the virtual card. Now, issuing is very flexible. You have a lot of options for spend controls. You can define different categories, amounts, and even you can get like a real-time authorization object to define if you approve or deny. That's a topic for a different time. But at a very high level, it's really easy to issue cards and then start building your experiences.
Very cool. And I've noticed that in almost all of these API calls, probably all of them, the second argument is this Stripe account ID. That is the connect. That's going to like include a header in the request that will specify which connected account this request is related to.
Correct. Because everything that we're doing works at a connected account level. So those card holders and those cards, the financial account, everything lives within the connected account. Or in other words, if you have two connected accounts, the second connected account doesn't have access to what's going on the first one.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, pretty much this is it, the authorization report. It's very similar to the transaction report. The beauty of Stripe APIs is that they're like super consistent. And once you know an object, they're pretty consistent between themselves. So it's as a developer, I had a blast building this.
Very cool. So we've got all of these widgets. Juan, these look like they're really, really valuable, and that this entire dashboard would enable you to almost expose this account management feature. So someone could go download this Next.js app. They should have access to all the different pieces to understand how you would build your own hosted account management solution. We've also got plans to build another demo very similar to this one using Ruby on Rails. So if you're curious about how to do this with Rails, we'll do that also. If there's any questions, we're curious too, like if there's questions about how to use any of the specific APIs. So if you have questions, if you're watching this later, please drop those down in the description, or I'm sorry, in the comments below the video, and we'll do our best to come back and answer. But yeah, we're really excited to see what you will build with this. Juan, Evan, anything as we wrap up the hour here? I think we've shared quite a bit. Definitely like a great high-level overview here.
So we're excited to hear questions, comments people have. We've been seeing the early users of Treasury building a lot of really cool things on top of this, a lot of different use cases. And the idea is just to build these components, these primitives that you can embed into your software solution across a lot of different industries. So keep the questions coming, and really excited.
Very cool. Juan, was there anything that we left out or anything else that you wanted to cover as we're coming to an end here?
Not for now, just to keep in mind the power that these experiences enable for platforms. There are so many different angles, and really thinking this as the next level of engagement with our users, like, hey, we're prolonging our relationship. What does that mean for platforms? I'm super curious, and I really enjoy talking with our users about what they build. So very excited to see how this evolves.
Very cool. So if you have questions afterwards, or if you're building your own Treasury integration and you have any questions, hit us up on Discord. You can go to discord.gg/Stripe. We have engineers in there most business hours around the world, and we would be super happy to chat with you on there. If you also want to leave a comment below telling us what you're going to build or what you plan to build with Stripe Treasury, we'd love to see that. And yeah, if you have any questions, again, as you go, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to chat. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.